Welcome to Audiogyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
Today I have Ashvini Menon with us on Audiogyan. Ashvini is a graphic designer, illustrator from Mumbai and did her master's in graphic design from NID. She has worked on projects with Microsoft, Reader's Digest, Visa Singapore, Bombay Natural History Society, and many more in her stint as a graphic designer. Ashvini has won many awards, and today we are here to discuss about graphic design, comic strips, and more. So thank you, Ashvini, for giving us your time, and welcome to Audiogyan.
Hi, Kedar. It's my pleasure to be here too.
Yeah. Obviously, there are a bunch of things to be discussed in the whole domain of graphic design, but we'll try and keep our conversation focused towards comic strip, which you've predominantly done for the Hindu and other places.
Right.
So, yeah, the first thing I would like to ask you is, what is the role of comic strips or caricature in general as an art form in the society? I mean, can you tell us in which domains it is explored, it is not explored, it is untapped?
Okay. So comic strips, Kedar, are nothing but sequential drawings or illustrations, and they are usually made in panels.
Okay.
Now, these can be multiple panels or single panels. And they were started initially in newspapers and magazines, and now after the invention of the internet, web comics have been extremely popular. Now, based on the interest area of the comic artist or the cartoonist, each of these comic strips fall in a theme. They can either be adventure cartoons like Tarzan and Tintin, or can be humorous or philosophical like Bill Watterson's Kevin and Hobbes, or informative like our own Rohan Chakravarti's Green Humor, or a simple See and Smile like S. Fudnis's single panel cartoons, or something which is so beautifully reflects what is happening in the society, like You Said It by R.K. Lakshman. So it depends on what is the artist's comfort zone. Based on that theme, that he or she designs those comic strips. So according to me, the beauty of comic strips lies in two things.
Okay.
So the first factor, I think, is generic for all of art forms, and that is the ability to express certain aspects of human beings or living beings which cannot be easily expressed through other mediums, like the feeling of love, the feeling of hope, the feeling of faith. So these things are much more easily expressed through creative art forms. And that is what a cartoon strip also does, because it is a form of self-expression of that artist. And the golden point for any artist is when what the artist is trying to say, it goes in sync with what the viewer has understood. So I feel every artist tries to achieve that through his or her work. Not that that person always has that in mind while doing that, but if that happens, it is, like a golden moment for the artist and the viewer. The second most important aspect as to what makes a cartoon strip beautiful is the brevity.
Okay.
How you bring such a huge idea together in just 2 sentences or just 2 panels is not an easy task. And there was a famous saying, I don't remember who said that exactly, but what that person said is that if I did not have enough time, and that is why my speech is so long.
I think Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Yes.
I should have known that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no problem.
So that is the bottom line of what these cartoon strips do.
Yeah.
And I think it is because of a limitation that where the cartoon strip is produced, either in the magazine or the newspaper, the viewer has just 30 seconds to read it, or just 1 minute. So you cannot have long passages going on that sheet of paper.
Correct.
So because of that limitation, this brevity came in. And also in the style in which these cartoons are made, you see they are not real. Usually they are black and white, or these simple sketchy line drawings, because it is
pastel colors, flat ones. Yeah.
Flat ones, exactly. It is easier for the artist to reproduce that same style. Some because some cartoons come out daily, some come out weekly. So these two things are, I think, what make the cartoon strips really unique. And how they are important in the society, I think that obviously they play an important role as any art form. That you cannot imagine life without music or dance or theater or films. In the same way, this colorful piece of drawings or these panels that are there in the newspaper are like a breather for any viewer in any publication. It is, I say, it is like a weekend for a week. Weekends are not really useful, so you can't really ask someone that, what is the use it is giving me. But you and I know how much important it is, and it really preps me up for the weekdays. So these are like breathers, and these are just like these small instances that, you get to connect with something which is non-mundane, Yeah.
But is like, as you mentioned, it depends on the artist comfort level of how it needs to be stylized or things like that.
Right.
Can it be commissioned, or is it always an artist's self-expression, especially in the comic strip discipline?
Right. That's a good question. So I think this is where I think the comic strip falls a little into a designer's field.
Okay.
Now, for viewers who are not really familiar with this field, the difference between art and designers: the artist doesn't care about what the viewer feels about his art form. It is predominantly self-expression, whereas a designer has to always care about how the viewer or the user is going to interact with the product or service.
Correct.
Now, a cartoon strip, for example, my cartoons, Ecotism, they are my self-expression, but somewhere I want my target audience to feel something out of it. So, like you asked, I had recently done a cartoon strip for a single panel cartoon for Greenpeace. Okay. And they had been reading Ecotism, and they had a ask. They said that one of their major causes that they were fighting for at that time was the GMO mustard. The really horrible thing that happened was you were trying to make our mustard seeds herbicide resistant, and because of that, a lot of complications are going to happen in the agricultural field, which the common people were not aware of. And this the government very well knew, and it was still implementing that. So the cartoon strip that I did for them was a small child at a dinner table with his parents, and the child is telling the mother, "Mom, can you also scold the government for playing with food?" So this was a perfect example of the question that you were trying to ask. They had an ask, but it still came out in a form of self-expression.
Yeah.
So there, one has to keep in mind that what the ask is, and obviously as an artist, you have to feel as deeply for that cause.
Yeah.
Only then will you be able to come out with that kind of a creation. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. So coming to the next question, you've been actively working in like graphic related. In fact, in the earlier question, I wanted to also know: are there certain sectors which are not tapped yet by cartoon strips, or certain issues which are not handled, or there are cartoons which are just made for fun and there need not be a message communicated to the society?
I don't think so. For me, cartooning came out very organically. It was not something that I planned and I wanted to do, and that is what I targeted. It came out of a need of wanting to put across a certain kind of message. So I think all of the cartoon strips that are existing today, I really think these have organically come out of the artist. I don't think someone really can sit and think or plan one day that I want to be a cartoonist. It is this, maybe someone is really good at puns and he has come out with these series of cartoons that are so funny, and people say that they want to see more, and that is how a series has started, So I think the way it is going on, like the way it is being produced today, is fine. I don't think anything should be forced. Also, with the advent of social media, there is a lot of exposure. Like people can easily start this this method of self expression is a little easier. So if one feels deeply about a certain issue, or one has a knack of putting across a certain funny situation, or there is a cartoon strip where a mother keeps documenting of how her 3-year-old child is being not exactly troubling, but how she has to keep up with taking care of this 3-year-old child, and that is a funny series of cartoons, and all new mothers relate to that. So something which comes out on its own, I think it takes its course, and I think that is fine. Yeah.
Interesting. So coming back to the second question, you've been actively working in like graphic related to nature in general.
Right.
So is there any way that you measure success, because since you do it with an intent or
Right.
have some sort of an expression,
Right.
and the thin line between art and design, so how do you measure your cartoon strips?
Right. It's a very important question, because I did question this to myself a lot of times. I would like to just narrate a couple of incidences that were the changing point in my career. So the first was during my final semester at NID. I how our education system usually is. It is always making us these competitive students. Earlier as kids it is marks, and then as you grow up it is the money. It is more than what the means are to achieve it. It is about how much you have got in the end. 95% scoring child ko we will never ask that did you really understand what you studied. As long as you've scored 95, it's fine. So I was in that mentality for a very long time, to be honest, and I thought I have to be the best in my industry. However I can be, I will try my best and do that. And it was later, I think, I listening to a series of TED Talks and all, I suddenly realized that, and also the kind of assignments that were given, to us, I realized that being a graphic designer is not something that is going to earn me money tomorrow. It is a skill. I am privileged that I don't think I am skilled. I think I'm privileged that I could study in an institution like that, and I have that knowledge, and it is my duty to use this skill for the betterment of something, or make it more meaningful, make my projects useful, and make it for some use. Then money, fame, and whatever you want follow. Those are secondary things, but never aim for that. So that thing changed my mind. And trust me, after I started telling myself that, the quality of my work and the things that I work on, they have changed, to a great extent. And it is really about that quality. So that was one thing. And the second was, I had this, because you are a graphic designer, and at that, what you design is everything, because you are surrounded by designers. So posters you make are all like, wow, this is beautiful and this will work. But then so when I came back to Mumbai, I decided to do a small campaign. I wanted to target plastic bags, because I wanted to do something around wildlife and environment. So I said, we'll pick up one subject. So let's take plastic bags. I went to the local market, and I put out all posters that I had made for them. So it said that get your own bags and save our planet and all. It was a very beautifully designed poster. And I convinced shopkeepers to put it up. They did put it up. And within a couple of days, all of them had put their posters down. There was just one poster that was still up. And that is when I realized that, and people were still rampantly using plastic bags. There was absolutely no change. And for me, because I was a young student, that came as a shocker that, my poster didn't work and people didn't listen to what I was saying. And that is when I tried to, then I went to speak to the shopkeepers again. That is when I realized that the problem is much bigger than what I perceived, as something which only a poster will solve. So I'm not saying the poster was a wrong medium, but anything that you try to solve, anything you try to make better, can never be better with just one product or one solution, and overnight things are going to be better. It has to be harmoniously, it has to work in sync with a number of solutions that are working as a system.
Integrated with much more.
Exactly. So you have the posters, and at the same time, the law has to be stricter. We have laws, but the enforcement has to be stricter. At the same time, you have to diligently keep talking to these shopkeepers who मतलब वो बेचारे, they are just trying to get their customers, with them. They don't want to disappoint that one person who is giving my daily earning. So I can't say that this shopkeeper is insensitive and is giving bags.
Yeah.
So to understand all that, so it has made me more patient as a person. And I have understood that I have to involve a lot of other streams of, people together to make something work. And the third thing was, this is one of my favorite incidents. I'm very glad that my friend told that to me. So in NID itself, we had formed a small group that was taking care of the flora and fauna of the campus. So we had very beautiful plants, landscapes, and so we had a lot of birds and all visiting. So at that time, I had this one friend who was extremely indifferent to whatever I was doing. And I always took it in the sense that, ye kaisa hai, he doesn't even feel anything about what I'm doing or doesn't appreciate. And so once I told him this angrily, that why don't you care about what we are doing? And he said that, Ashvini, you have the privilege to think about wildlife. And that hit me, because he was right. He came from a very modest background. And most of our country is like that. 75+% of our population is like that. When they have to think about how I'm going to meet my, food necessities tomorrow, how am I going to send my children to school, and I have all of those things sorted. That's why I can think of other living beings, right?
Yeah.
So that was really an eye opener for me, and I realized that when someone is not caring about certain things, it is because that person's. It's usually because some other things are a priority to that person. So what I can't expect, I can't expect the same kind of, sensitivity from all strata of the society. It is people like you and I who have most of our comforts in place. Okay, we can, put our leisure time, devote some time to things like that. Yeah.
But yeah, and in fact, I agree to what you're saying, but there's a counter side to it also. Those who have certain things in place are in like much more important position to think about these extra things which matter a lot also.
Right.
Can you tell us about the cartoon strip Ecotism, which is like a year-long association with Hindu?
Right.
Like where does this inspiration come from, and what is Ecotism about?
Yeah. Oh, also, sorry, before that, like the earlier question, I did not answer this thing about projects. So, when I decided, so I like I said that I decided to work for wildlife or the environment through graphic design in my own small way, however it is possible. So then when I approached the Bombay Natural History Society, so my parents had been associated to that NGO long back in their college days. So it was easier for me to get in touch with them. But then I saw they were all these scientists and, doctorates, and they all were such experts in their fields, and I could hardly name words, but I did feel for them, but I did not see myself as an expert there. So I felt that, I am just a designer, graphic designer. I don't know what am I going to do. And thankfully at that time the publication department was looking for someone to help them broaden their publication designs and try to see something new. And the way they welcomed me and the way they made me a part of their team, I realized that there are people who are sensitive. Exactly, like there are people who can play their own role and still be of help to any cause they have. So I don't have to be a scientist to help the natural environment. As a graphic designer too, I can, go and help the same cause. So that's how I started working with the BNHS, and then this the Greenpeace cartoon, and then there's this NGO called Here on Project Environment, which started the sparrow count. They conduct a yearly sparrow population count, and I had seen these presentations that they were giving where they listed down the many reasons as to why our sparrow population count is decreasing. So I thought, why not convert that into a cartoon strip which can easily communicate the reasons. So for example, in one cartoon I had shown this sparrow lying at a psychologist on a psychologist's bed, pyramid and saying that it is really lonely at the top, So it was the main reason was that they're losing their mates, and sparrows being extremely social birds, it's very difficult for them to live as individual birds. So once you find once you know what your skill set is, that okay, your skill set is that you are a graphic designer and you know how to visually communicate an idea, you try these windows automatically open. You find a way to express these things. And coming back to the third
measuring
question, like I said that. And it's still very difficult for me to say that anything that I did was successful. But you just keep trying in all directions. I'd like to compare this with nature's dispersal of seeds. The pod will throw out some billions of seeds, and of that, some hundreds will actually get dispersed. Of that, some 10 will grow. So you have to keep that same mindset because that's what is going to happen. Of the 100 people who see your work, 25 will be sensitized and 5 people might do, or even if one person does, it is worth it.
It's the ray of hope, which I think every designer has.
Exactly. Exactly.
And can you tell us about the Ecotism project? What it is?
The Ecotism, it came. Initially I started doing these. I have this affinity towards shortening things, like to putting everything into one line, because it's extremely challenging, and it helps you sharpen your skill also as a designer to a great extent. So I used to create these single panel cartoons called Doesn't Matter on Facebook. And all these environmental, environment related problems that I saw around me, I used to address one of each of those through these cartoons. And then once I made, I think around 35, I thought that I got a decent response for those cartoons. So I thought that maybe it needs a wider audience than just my Facebook page. So I just tried to search all the newspaper IDs that I found online, contact IDs, and I just wrote to all of them saying that, see, these are the kind of cartoons I do, and I do not see a lot of environmental cartoons in the newspaper. So would you like to collaborate? And after 6 months, it was the Hindu that replied, and I was thrilled. I was like, I did not believe them. So till I actually made the first cartoon, I did not believe this was happening, because so this was something which was like a meeting point of both the things, right? As a designer, you get to put your work on the paper, and it's about an issue that you really care about. So they said that we'll call it Ecotism, and it has to be in this area. So I had to just resize my cartoons, and then it went on from there. And sometimes the inspiration for these cartoons come from you just have to keep your eyes and ears open. So one of my earlier cartoons was when I was traveling by train, I saw this lady carrying a bag, and a jeweler shop's bag, and it had this tagline at the bottom saying, "We have no branches." And so I turned that into one of my cartoons. There's a poster on the tree which is recently cut on the footpath, and it has and it has this line saying, we have no branches. So many a times I see these save environment campaigns, and there are pamphlets printed, and you're actually wasting paper doing that. So I made another cartoon on that. So many a times these things that you see around them, you try to translate that into a cartoon. Or these anti-pollution face washes. I never get the point of these face washes. Like, who is creating the pollution? It is us, right? Like, we always have this habit of saying that jo galti kar raha hai, wo koi aur kar raha hai. And, it is never us who is a part. So that is the bridge that I wanted to try to show through these cartoons. Most of these cartoons, if you see, they kind of indirectly point at our own selves, that it is us who is doing. It's no third person, or it's our wants which is making these things happen.
There's a famous line, I think, which says there's a lot of traffic jam, but actually you are the traffic jam.
Exactly. That is the saying.
This one is slightly to understand about big brands which you have worked along with.
Right.
Like Microsoft, Visa Singapore, are
Right.
these people or are these brands sensitive to art in general? Because I am aware of Infosys and TCS doing some sort of environment related projects. So are
Right.
these brands, do these brands ask for certain environment related or
Yes.
sustainability related projects from
Yes.
graphic designers like you?
Yes, definitely. So, the best part of the best things that I learned about my career were in my working years at Microsoft. I still work with them on a project. So they have this yearly. They have this yearly. What do you say? An event called as giving campaign, where all of the creatives come together. All of these people come together and they work for different NGOs. Any cause that you feel for, you get a chance to work for them. So there are people actually cooking and baking, and there are people who are playing music, and the funds you raise through these things are given for these organizations.
Oh, nice.
So I feel that no big company or small company or an NGO can work in silos. So all of them can do their business, but when they come together, that is when we will really achieve something, because even the NGOs, most of their big fundings are through these big organizations. It is when these people sponsor, they can take up a big project. Like Godrej is sponsoring so many mangroves related projects, like they are taking care of the mangroves. So no one can work independently of each other, and they're extremely smart people. Like I can only talk of Microsoft because I worked there. They're really smart people, and they all have usually work on passion projects side by side. So someone is an adventure trekker, or someone is playing a sport, ultimate frisbee, and helping underprivileged kids. So everyone is doing their bit. So in these organizations, I think because of their reach, they do make it a point to make use of that reach. Obviously, you cannot do it full time because they have their business goals to be achieved. But the other times that they can do it, they do make sure that those things are happening.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. Ashwini, I would like to conclude with one last question, which is you also collaborated with Taxi Fabric
Right.
you made interiors and all the artwork to be installed in a taxi. So can you tell us about something about that project, and what was the learning experience there, and what is exactly Taxi Fabric doing in the taxi domain as well?
Right. So I heard about Taxi Fabric when I was in Hyderabad, and I was really thrilled because some of my peers and some of my friends had already made some designs for the taxis. So it was the brainchild of Sanket Alwani, and it's a very wonderful idea. He had these conversations with the taxi drivers, and he realized that maybe the interior spaces of these taxi fabrics can be converted into canvases. So he collaborated with different artists, and he gave them the liberty of designing something which is close to their heart. So for me, I chose Wild Mumbaikars, where it had to be around Mumbai. The theme was about Mumbai, but I questioned why is Mumbai only related to people when we have such a big national park right behind us and such beautiful seascapes. So many of us do not even know that Mumbai has dolphins in its sea coast. Okay. Yeah. So we saw so much of beauty, natural beauty around us. I wanted to put that into the taxi. So I split the taxi into different landscapes, like the forest, then the mangroves, and then the land animals, and then the seascape. So all the birds and the animals that you see around, and just like the theme, like the Wild Mumbaikars was this thing. And the doors had some interactive panels, like this. We had one door for the sparrow and one with the leopard paw, and it said that you can put your hand here and just see what is the size of your hand in comparison to a leopard's paw, and things like that, And I see if you visit their website or you see their work, you see the brilliant works by all of
amazing.
artists, like causes which they really feel deeply about, they have illustrated, and you can see that, you can see that reflected in their work. And
is it only in Bombay or
no, they have progressed to different cities too. They after Bombay, they took Delhi and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I know there's a lot more to discuss, but these were a few questions which I had thought of asking you, and obviously I would like to have you again on Audiogyan to discuss more.
Thank
but
you.
I think for now this is a good note to end this.
Yeah.
Thank you once again for giving us your time, and it was lovely talking to you.
Thanks a lot, Kedar. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Saavn, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.